Well, it's Friday, so it must be Fundraisers Friday.
It
Hello.
sure is. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. I just got to say, I love your background, my friend.
Well, thank you so much. I'm super excited to have this background.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about this because super cool artwork, which, if I'm not mistaken, you created.
Well, I had a little help, so, it was a team effort, Julia.
Well, I just love it. I'm super proud of this, and we are going to talk about it. But as part and parcel, we're going to be talking about getting your board to rethink fundraising. And Tony, you and I know this is such a pain point for anybody in board service. And so I'm really excited to kind of drill down a little bit, demystify things, and get us rolling, hopefully in the right direction. We get to roll in the right direction every day because we have these amazing presenting sponsors, and they include Bloomerang, American Nonprofit Academy, Staffing Boutique, Holdings Nonprofit Banking, Interim Executives Academy, Your Part-Time Controller, Fundraisers Friday, and JMT Consulting. I'm Julia C. Patrick, CEO of the American Nonprofit Academy. More importantly, I'm with the amazing Tony Beall, Mr. Nonprofit Consultancy.
I don't know why you say more importantly, Julia. There wouldn't be a show without you. So,
I don't, you know what? That is so not true. So not true. But
it is.
no, that's another story. So not true. But really, really excited to talk about the architecture of fundraising, a collaboration between Tony and I, based on all of our conversations over the years. When the two of us started talking about fundraising, we realized that it's like more than just like a process, it's a concept. And so to come up with the architecture of fundraising has really been fun. And I'm just so proud of this. And you did do this design. That's the real thing, everybody.
Yeah, I did do the design. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Again, it's these opportunities that arise that kind of push you to do things you've never done before. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I love it. It looks great. I think it's a perfect marriage of style and substance.
Yeah, I like that you said that. I feel like this is one of those things that if you're a professional fundraiser, it might help articulate your work and where your ups and where your downs are, and maybe re energize you in some pieces. If you're not a professional fundraiser, but you work with them, let's say you're a board member or you're in the C suite or you're just, God bless you, you're just a staff member at a nonprofit, it will help you understand how this thing works and how it can work, right?
Mhm.
And so I just love this approach. It's something that's very, very unique. And if you and I hadn't had all these hours together talking and thinking about and observing what other folks are doing, we would have never gotten to this point, right?
You know what? It's very true. I mean, we mentioned in kind of the forward of the book how it really represents our decades of experience, not only in terms of our lived experience, but the lived experience of others that have shared that with us. So it's really just an honor to kind of pay it forward in many respects.
Yeah.
Sharing these stories and I never think of myself as wise, but I was going to use the word wisdom and sharing this wisdom again over decades of experience.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the great things with where you and I live in this ecosystem of the nonprofit sector is that people tell us things and we get to witness things,
Mm-hmm.
and that is really remarkable. I could be talking to a cat shelter in Iowa, and 45 minutes later, I'm speaking to, a domestic violence shelter in Pittsburgh, right? I mean, we're
Mm-hmm.
hearing about all these different things. And so what a gift it is to be able to bring forward, these observations and stories. So
For sure.
I just wanted to kind of pitch that. But let's get back onto the main topic for today. And that is the four main profiles and roles of board members. Talk to us about this and maybe the genesis behind these roles.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked in the green room about how something so simple as these four roles and kind of, leaning into this structure can be transformational for an organization of all sizes, not just small and medium-sized organizations, but large organizations as well. And the critical piece to this is managing the fear that board members have when it comes to fundraising. I mean, no one likes to hear no, whether it's fundraising or just in life in general. And that's one of the biggest fears. But when board members understand these 4 different roles and how they can gravitate towards them in terms of their existing core competencies or existing kind of areas of passion, it really is transformative for nonprofits. And again, super simple when we look at Prospector, Cultivator, Solicitor, and Steward. 4 very simple roles that are really impactful.
So before we get into each role, we were talking about this. I was sharing a board training that I had just done with a group, and they came to this board retreat kind of like their arms crossed, like, I don't want to spend 5 hours talking about fundraising. That's why we have a development team. I mean, it was like, whoa. I mean, I was not prepared for this. And I speak professionally, right? So I'm used to getting up in front of people that maybe it's a little dicey. And
Right.
Over my career, I've been used to having some resistance.
Mhm.
And by the time we ended, people were like, thank you. I can get involved. I love this. I mean, it just stripped away. And that is the F word, fear. You said it, my friend. It gave them permission and a roadmap to participate in the success of their organization in fundraising. It was such a magical thing, Tony.
Well, it's a real testimonial to the work that we do, Julia. And I think we, meaning the collective we, anyone that's involved in professional development and training in the nonprofit space, is that, and I was having a conversation with someone just the other day, my desire has always been that through this work, we are empowering folks in their roles, and in many cases, giving them permission to do the work or to advocate for themselves. So I love, that's just a super testimonial, again, how something so simple can create this aha moment, right, throughout the entire room, and everyone leaves feeling empowered right, to contribute in ways they didn't realize they could.
Well, and to me, I feel like it's very natural. It's not a forced thing. It's not like a script, and I've got to say this line and then I've got to do this next. It's just, this is who you are or who you can be. Where do you fit? So let's talk about the first role. And I love that word, role, of the prospector. What does that look like to you?
Yeah, so the prospector is the person that is going to help identify potential donors and investors for the organization. So they're going to look at their LinkedIn profile. They're going to look at their Rolodex, however that might exist in today's environment for them, but their list of contacts, their sphere of influence, right? They're going to look at all of the folks that they're connected with and create this prospecting list of potential individuals that may end up being a donor or investor. This really is, when we talk about prospecting, it really is this list of potential people, companies, organizations that can financially support, or, we think about the 3 T's, the time, talent, treasure, whatever it is that you're looking for. But everyone's contributing to this list. And that's what prospectors do, is they commit to kind of feeding the pipeline at the very beginning of these, prospects. And this is the one role out of the 4, Julia, that every board member really should participate in. Right. I mean, every board member should have the capacity and willingness to, to help with prospecting. And again, it's all about creating that pipeline for the next step in the process.
I like that you said that, because I think that it is, again, I keep going back to the word fear. And you said it so beautifully. Nobody in their life, throughout their life, at home, at work, at play, wants to hear the word no. And so this is not a no situation. This is a KNOW situation. Who do you know? Who should you know? How can you kind of be thinking about those links? And so I just love that you said, Tony, that this is everyone's, should be in everyone's wheelhouse. It should be a practice that we all think about. So super cool. So we've got the role of the prospector. Once we have that, we move on to the role of the cultivator. And for those folks just listening, we have somebody holding the start of a new plant. And hopefully that tiny little plant's going to grow into a money tree, as we like to say. What do you see the role of the cultivator doing, and how is it different maybe than some of the other roles?
Yeah, so this is kind of a moment of truth opportunity when you think of the four roles. So now we've moved this potential donor or investor to our organization from the prospect list to the hands of a cultivator. So we've done our due diligence through prospecting. We've looked at everybody. We've gone, again, we've kind of determined who are more likely to give than not. And now those folks are being, that responsibility now is being moved over to the cultivator. The cultivator is now going to call the individual, meet with the individual, connect with the individual, to really get a sense of what are their areas of passion? What is their connectivity to the mission? Do they have the capacity to give? Are they the decision maker, ultimately to make that decision of whether or not a gift is going to be given to the organization? So the cultivators really are, again, I say that moment of truth because they are often the first time that this individual has met with or been connected with anyone from the organization. And so how they present themselves, their knowledge of the organization, their passion for the mission is going to be really important because, again, they're going to be your first ambassador in many cases to this potential donor or investor.
And let's be specific here. This is not an ask role.
It's not an ask role.
I think this is really important because this is like my word I would use. It's a championing role. You get to like share the exciting news and opportunities and impact of your organization to your community, to potential collaborators. And that I think could go all the way through the arc of policy. It can be, collaborations on other issues, but it's really a joy, I think, to be able to wave the flag, if you will,
Sure,
of your organization. It's really a fun role.
Well, I think of it too when you think in terms of what you see happening, in pop culture or just our culture in general, and we think of things like brand ambassadors.
Yeah.
So that's what I think of often when I think of cultivators, is that they're the brand ambassadors for your mission and for your organization. And getting, they're your hype people, right? They're the ones, connecting with folks, whether it's from this list or they're hosting some type of gathering at their workplace, whatever it is that they're doing to help cultivate potential donors. They're the ones that are your big cheerleaders and your brand ambassadors.
Yeah, I love that you put it into that modern context, because that's absolutely what it is. And I think you said something really an interesting through line, and that is that this is the type of person that's probably comfortable promoting or calling out your organization on social media and saying, "Wow, I did this."
Your solicitors too. So when you think of this, like your cultivators, pardon me, are not going to be your introverts, right? Your prospectors will be probably your introverts, but your cultivators and solicitors, which we'll talk about in a moment, are not going to be the folks on your board that are introverts.
Yeah, I love it. That's great. And I think that's, I'm thinking mentally, I'm like looking down that boardroom table and I'm trying to think, okay, Susie's here, Joe's here, Anisha's here. I mean, I think there's nothing wrong with looking at who sits around the table and what are these potential roles that we can help them discover and also be successful in, right? I mean, because we want to put people in these roles and support them in a way so they'll be successful, because then that's how it works for all of us.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now this is my favorite image of the whole deck, because it's a guy. We're going to be talking about the role of the solicitor, and he's kind of like, hey,
I choose you to be our next major donor. Come on down.
Oh my God. I got to tell you one quick story. I'm conducting another board retreat for a very important organization, statewide organization here in the West, in a couple weeks. And we did a board survey and sent it out to them. And one of the things was about fundraising. And so we kind of discussed what the different roles were and who was comfortable and what. And one of the board members was like, are you kidding me? It was literally typed in, are you kidding me? I love asking people to support our organization. Let me add them, and I was like, this is the dream board member. But now what was really interesting, Tony, is that she identified herself as someone who, of the 4 roles, that's what she loves and that's what she's good at. The cultivation, the stewardship, the prospecting, not so much. She wasn't as interested, didn't see that as a skill set that she had. But the solicitor, she loved it. And she could see herself in this role.
That's great.
It was fascinating.
Well, and that, and there's a ripple effect there too, which I'm sure you saw, is when somebody is like, yes, this is a role I can really wrap my arms around and succeed in, and they get super excited, and now they have some, they're doing it and they have some success stories and they're sharing that with other board members. Now other board members are getting excited. I mean, it's just, it's great to have that kind of energy in the boardroom and that level of commitment, not only to the organization, but a level of commitment to the process. And those are 2 very different things. And a lot of times, we have board members that are just so passionate about the mission and, and the programs and services and just the outcomes of the work being done, but not so passionate about the process because that's not necessarily the fun part of the work, but that's why it's called work.
I love that you pointed that out. I think that's great. That's really magical, because it's not all unicorns and rainbows, right? I mean, there's some things that hard work, heavy lifting that gets done. And I also appreciate you bringing up the excitement and that energy that somebody that takes on the solicitor role brings back to the table. I hadn't really thought of that, but if somebody comes back and was like, oh my gosh, this was magical, I loved it, it was so much fun, it might spurn another board member on who's like, wow, I never thought of it that way, or can I tag along, or can I learn? I think this is a cool thing to think about.
And a board member that is serving in the solicitor role, they may in fact make the ask. Oftentimes that will happen, or they may be the ones that are setting up the ask. So they've developed a relationship with someone. They've had the conversation around the importance of the mission, how this potential donor or investor can be engaged and make a commitment. That donor or investor has signaled to them that, yes, I'm willing to do that. Then they may turn it over to a development director or a CEO to connect with the individual, build some trust, and then make the ultimate ask. So when we think of solicitor in terms of board members, sometimes they make the ask, but sometimes they're kind of the first step of the ask, if you will. It's kind of a 2-pronged ask. They've kind of secured the commitment through conversation, but then the development professional or the CEO, executive director will come in and make the ultimate ask.
Okay, so let me drill down a little bit on that with you, because what about, and we've talked about this off and on over the years, the value or the issue of having a board member who may not be familiar with the potential donor tag along to the ultimate ask, to represent the board. Would you say that that is part of that role for the solicitor?
Um, no.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
Well, and the reason why is because yes, and I agree with, showing up in numbers, and that's very successful, but not at the ask. I wouldn't bring a stranger to the ask.
Right.
So the board member would need to already have a relationship with the individual in some way, shape, or form. I just wouldn't bring a stranger to that meeting.
Okay. And you've said that before, which I think is just fascinating. And yeah, okay, that's cool. I appreciate you kind of clarifying that for us, because I think that's I think that's becoming more of a modern practice.
Yeah.
Like, oh, let's just bring a board member. And you're right. It's like they meet in the lobby of the restaurant or the lobby of someone's office, and that's like the first time they've ever met. And yet they're
Yeah,
going to talk about
that's too soon for if
yeah.
they're going to participate in a ask conversation.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got the solicitor figured out.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the steward, because
Ooh.
this is, I think, another role that should be a part of all boards, and easier for some people than others. What do you help us
Well,
understand this?
no, I totally agree because when we talk about introverts and extroverts, I mean, introverts can participate in the stewardship. They can write cards, I mean, there's so many things that that an introvert can do to participate without taking them out of a comfort zone. So when you think that it would serve both introvert and extrovert, yes, every board member can participate in the stewardship part of this process. And what is stewardship? It's thanking. It's thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you again,
Yeah.
and all of the different ways that can take place. So whether it's a letter, a handwritten card, a phone call, whether it's a shout out on social media, whether it's I mean, just tours of the organization. There's just many different a lunch with the board chair or lunch with the CEO. There's just so many different ways that we can show gratitude and continue to steward the donors and investors to our organization. So this is a really important role. I mean, they're all important roles when we look at this as being part of a process and part of a team approach. But your stewardship is really critical if you want to if you want to continue to engage the donor and continue to invite them to participate in donations.
Right. My first experience with this was in college, and I went to a small liberal arts college called Claremont Men's College, and they had just started taking girls. And so they got together, like 5 of us girls, and we were to call. They gave us phone lists. We went to downtown LA into somebody's office that had phone banks, and we were to call older men who had gone to school at Claremont Men's College and to say, hi, I'm Julia Patrick and I'm a girl and I'm now going to Claremont Men's College because we're taking girls. Woohoo. And it was riveting because it was a way to thank donors of what was going on, but to give them the voice, because this was before video calls, of an actual student.
Mm-hmm.
And we tested it out, and it was so successful because those few girls and myself, we were like, this was great, we'd do this again. And we just volunteered, because we thought, oh, this will be fun. And it really taught me a lasting lesson about stewardship.
Mm-hmm.
And about that, thanking and witnessing to what's going on. And I just think it's also a lot of fun.
Oh, I think it's a lot of fun too. No, it's so rewarding to connect with the folks that that share your passion, and and like you, because and I say like you when we're talking about the role of a board member, like you, they've made a financial contribution to the organization. So you're talking to a peer. You're talking to someone, again, like you, that has made a financial investment in the organization and shares a passion for the mission. So it should feel really good, and that's where you get a lot of the stories that you can take back to the board, take back to staff, and say, I called this donor to thank them, and they were so grateful, and then they mentioned something they had seen, or
Right.
that the organization is doing, and I just want to share with you that they're seeing those things taking place in the community, and it means something to them, and it just lifts everybody up.
Yeah, it's a cool thing. And I appreciate you saying that, because I think sometimes we work in these silos or these vacuums and we think, does it matter? Is anybody hearing this? Is anybody seeing this? And I love that you brought that up as a venue for communicating back to the
Mhm.
team as to what you're hearing. What are people's responses to these elements of information and exposure? I think it's a really cool thing to do. So
Mhm.
yeah, thank you. Okay, so we've got these four roles, and you mentioned as we wrap up today, it's not an absolute, right? We can have bits and pieces of all of this.
Yeah, I mean, there again, and I'm really kind of stuck today on this extrovert introvert kind
Yeah,
of way of looking at this. And so, out of these four, we've already kind of identified where an introvert could succeed and feel good about participating in two of them, and the same with an extrovert could feel really good about participating in at least two of them. But our board members are multifaceted, and sometimes a board member might want to stretch themselves. And so, maybe solicitor is not something that they thought that they could do, but they're willing to stretch themselves and develop a new skill as part of their, service to the board of directors. So, explaining these, giving folks an opportunity to sign up, for the ones that they feel the most comfortable with, is the first place to start. But a reminder, it's a process. You have to mention this at board meetings. You have to mention it monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly. You have to have intentional conversations around the roles. You have to have standards of practice that allow you to gather the prospecting information, and then to be able to segment that prospecting list so that who are the appropriate folks to now kind of hand over to your cultivators.
right.
Uh, so again, it's super simple, incredibly impactful, but it takes, like everything else, true intention in order for this concept to succeed.
I love that you wrapped it up that way, because I love the word intention. And it's really a positive navigation of this process. And so, thank you. If you want to hear more about this concept as well as others, we invite you to read The Architecture of Fundraising. It is a collaborative book that Tony and I have worked on together. And it's really been a fabulous process for us to work together. Tony did the artwork on the cover.
The artwork.
I'm just saying, art director, add art director to his amazing CV. But yeah, it's really been a joy to write this with you and explore some of the deeper concepts behind fundraising, as opposed to just search for the richest person in the room. Which is like, no.
Yeah, that's not really the right approach. But what I love about the book too is, and again, shout out to Kevin Pace
Yes.
for his support and guidance, and just making us even feel that this was possible. So I feel like I can't talk about the book without also,
Thank you.
recognizing Kevin's incredible contribution to the success. The applause we've been waiting for the entire show.
Oh Lord, we're talking about Kevin Pace, our executive producer, and yes, he is the one that said, "Hey, you guys, in your spare time, I have an idea for you." And so Yeah, absolutely. He has been really the driving force. So you're right, Tony. Thank you for bringing that up. If you've got questions, reach out to us. If you've got a topic you want us to look at, yeah, we want to know. I mean, we're on this journey with you. So reach out to us. We're very active on our socials, or you can directly email us at info@AmericanNonprofitAcademy.com. And we'll see how we can help you. We have amazing help each and every week from our presenting sponsors, and they include Bloomerang, American Nonprofit Academy, Staffing Boutique, JMT Consulting, Interim Executives Academy, Your Part-Time Controller, and Fundraisers Friday, along with nonprofit banking. Really, really a cool group of people that support us. All right, my friend, it's the weekend, but I think there's a lot of exciting things going on, and I can't wait to really drill down into these roles and see where I fit.
Yes, absolutely, Julia.
All right, everybody, as we end each and every show, we leave with this message, and that is to stay well so you can do well.